What's up, everybody? This is NBA at the Bar. We're your hosts. My name's TA.
It's J Money.
And we're glad to have you here. We're brought to you by ATB Media Network. Now, with that being said, folks, I need you to do me a quick favor. I need you guys to all subscribe, download, like, love it, and come visit us each and every single week. So I'm super fired up for this week. It was some great basketball. This in-season tournament is getting going, and we're ready to talk some NBA basketball. G Money,
yes,
what
sir.
You sipping on today?
You know, I'm on this Lismore.
Lismore?
And I had to think about it. I was like, what is it? Lismore. It's a blended Scotch.
Well, the one thing you do know you're going to have is you're going to have some blended Scotch.
Yes,
and you know exactly what I'm going to have. What am I going to have?
You're going to have some cognac
I'm drinking on some cognac.
Yes,
and
indeed.
It's by a company called Claude Playmore or something like that. But all I know is it's French.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah, and it's a little bit fancy. And it's pretty good. I've been drinking this for a long time. This is like when I want to get a little bit bougie and want to get a little bit French with it.
Man, we're going to be sommeliers of this dark liquor in a minute, okay? As much as we doing.
So with that being said, let's talk some NBA.
Yes, indeed.
And, the first thing I want to talk to you about is how my man LeBron is running through the league at almost 40 years old, getting it ass, kicking ass, and taking names.
Ooh, isn't he? You're right. LeBron is whooping ass. And, I was really proud of him. Granted, it was against Portland, so they should have whooped Portland's ass. And they had about 3 or 4 times in that game to where it was like, why is the game tied? Why did you allow them to go up by 2? But they never really, let's say, relinquished the lead. But to your point, LeBron just looked phenomenal. I mean, for a guy in his 21st year who's I think he was 39, right? He's 39.
39 this month.
Okay.
Or excuse me, next month.
Going to be 39 and is whooping ass like he's 21. I mean, and whooping ass. He's dunking, he's driving, he's playmaking, he's doing everything. We have never seen an athlete in the basketball arena do what he's doing right now. So I got to give him a little bit of love.
Well, I don't know about you, but I can still remember a long time ago when I was 39 and how these old limbs, these old knees was sitting over here crunching. So I can only imagine, and we got to put those 21 years in perspective. He's not playing 21 years times 82 games. Let's assume he never missed any games, and that's the number of games he's played. We got to forget about the preseason for all 21 games. We got to remember the postseason and this man getting damn near to the championship or to the championship almost each one of those 21 years. So we talk about the amount of games that he's racked up on that body.
Yes.
But I can remember when people used to laugh at him when he was spending $2 million on the offseason on his body, and everybody was like, $2 million, are you crazy? He spent that money back then. He invested in his health, invested in his greatness, invested in his body to ensure now at 39 years of age, he'll still be playing at the highest levels in the game.
I'll tell you what, he needs to sell that damn milkshake that he drinks at the end of the game. I don't know if you watch any of his off-season or not off-season, his post-game interviews. He got a little cup, he got a little jug, and it looks like
you didn't know that's
mystery shake.
That's yak up in there. So
look, man, but that whatever it is, man, that cryptochronic light that is in there, that is the elixir of youth, because that is making that boy produce, and he knows it, and he's delivering it. And look, only reason I keep going on the milkshake, because that's the only thing that we can tangibly see, where I'm like, oh man, okay, he's drinking something. It looks like a little mystery mix, and he's drinking that, and he's talking about how we did offensively and defensively, and he's talking all this bloviating. But I'm like, man, there's something in that.
But getting there, just like getting there, right? You never got your scholarship, or you never got to the league by what you did during the season. The reality is what you do in the offseason. It's the AAUs and all that.
Yeah.
It's how you progress year over year. So, again, I believe his greatness is predicated upon the dedication and commitment that he has in each offseason that got him to where we're at right now. But here's what the thing is. This is what I love about LeBron, is that he has a goal. And that goal is to play with one Bronny in a few years. And now he's even added on to that goal to play with his other son. What's his other son's name? Remember what his name is?
I don't remember his other son's name. I just know that he's playing at Notre Dame.
Yeah, he
right
actually
now.
went to the school that you send your daughter to, the fancy school you send your daughter to. That's what, hey, you can't hide money.
I mean, since we
they call him G Money for a reason.
Since we're going to name drop, his son was initially about to go to Campbell Hall. I think his daughter goes to Campbell Hall right now. And but his son decided that because their team is actually supposed to be pretty good this year, and his son basically said he wanted to get more burn, and so he went into with Masterpiece son in Notre Dame, and he's about to go church out.
But my point I was trying to make is that he wants to sit over here and go play with both of his sons before he leaves. So the only way you can have that is longevity.
But see, you know what? And I don't even believe that. Look, he wants to play with a son. So what he said is I'm gonna play with a son before I retire.
No, his wife told him he got to play with the second son too.
Okay, and
Bryce,
kudos,
Bryce.
There it is. See, look.
It's too early for this shit.
No, but you know what it is? The liquor will take it away, and then it'll give it.
Give
it back to you. So look, it just came back to you. So thank you. Yes,
but the whole point is
Bryce
that the only concern I have about this is that they were supposed to be limiting his minutes. Now he's playing 30 plus minutes a game, and he's playing at such a high level. He's giving so much of himself, and we're talking about he's giving so much of himself in just these first 10 games. Well, you guys know we have 8 times more games before we even get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
So can he sustain this level for another 72 games, hopefully, and still have enough for the playoffs? Because what we've seen as Father Time has crept up on him is at the end of the season and going to the playoffs, he's given everything he had just to get his team positioned to get into the playoffs. And it looks like this is that same type of team that he's going to have to give everything that he has just for the team to get to the playoffs. That's what my greatest concern is.
It is my greatest concern, too. I would just say that, you know what, if there's an outlier in the league, it is LeBron James. Conventional wisdom would tell you no. Conventional wisdom would tell you, okay, a person of his ilk who has played at the level that he has played, you need to rest him. He needs to not be playing 33 minutes or 30 plus minutes a game. And I think that the Lakers have enough talent if they start to get some of their injuries back to where they can start to wean him off of that successfully, and they can start to put in, Rui Hachimura and all those guys, because Vanderbilt will allow that let's say that system to exist to where you can put Rui in there because you still have a defensive presence. But he's an outlier. So if he ends up playing 33 minutes throughout the game, throughout the course of the season, maybe he can do that. I can't put that against LeBron James.
If he doesn't, give the man an MVP. And I don't, and again, just niching away of that greatest player to ever do it. You know where I stand on that. He's the greatest motherfucker to ever touch a basketball.
I know
and we don't got to get into that argument right now or that discussion right now, because I got another great discussion for you that I'm sure you're gonna be able to appreciate.
Okay, give it to me.
Hey, it's been heart-wrenching for me because I'm a Clipper fan. It's been disconcerting. It's been absolutely brutal to watch them lose 6 in a row. After trading for Harden, because they started off relatively good in the first couple games.
And I will say to you, as an endearing Clipper fan, it has been my delight. I have been so happy.
You said as a Clipper fan, right? Because you call them the Clippers.
You're the Clipper fan.
So it's good because I'm the fan.
Yes, okay. and I have enjoyed your misery. So yes,
but guess what? Harden just popped you in the ass. Harden was like, yeah.
He did do that.
And got you in the ass.
Okay.
And so here's what
he did it though.
And he did it. So one of the things that I ask is, and I'm not this naive to believe it, but we have to ask the question: is this what they needed to get kickstarted? It's kind of like a kickstart when you start a motorcycle. You kickstart that bad boy, or you pull that on a lawnmower, and boom, it gets started. Was this the kickstarter for the team?
You know what? I would say if I'm a Clippers fan, I would say yeah. I hope so.
I hope so.
I hope so. Look, at the end of the day, what we have already professed about is that you can't have Westbrook, Harden, Kawhi and Paul George in the same
lineup.
in the same cadence of to where they're one of them are going to be substituted out. You have too many ball dominant individuals in a starting five, even though they're all Hall of Famers, unquestionably. But it's too much. So
it's too much of cats almost the same position. Like they almost are
Not
all
even
tweeners
almost.
of 2 and 3s, and
Yes.
Harden can play the one, Westbrook can play the one, but they all kind of play the same thing.
Westbrook can only play the one because he is not a frenetic shooter. He's a streaky shooter. He can hit a corner
get
three.
hot.
He can hit a corner three, and he's a driver,
Mhm.
and he's an energy guy. But I got to give him a lot of credit because he decided that he was going to transition himself voluntarily to the bench, and that was very big of him, and that allowed the room and the breath for James Harden to just be himself with that lineup. So does this mean now all of a sudden that the Clippers have figured it out? I don't know. Ty Lue in the conglomerate, I almost want to say that they're going to have a communal decision about how they're going to be. But yeah, Westbrook moving to the back and putting James Harden in the forefront, that's a good step forward. And they
I think it should. I think it should have been
in.
in reverse. I think Harden should have went to the back. The only
Why do you say that?
Well, you would have to do two. One is because Harden wants to be ball dominant. And so if Harden wants to be ball dominant and the other three know how to sit over and pass it around, why sit over and interject a ball dominant individual with two people that can play off the ball? Because he can be ball dominant in the second crew and do the pick and rolls with Tucker. You follow what I'm saying? Or Zubac. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you get Zubac out early, put Tucker in, and then you put Zubac back in with him, and they can run the pick and roll.
Oh, look at you strategizing. Okay.
Hey,
so
I used to coach this game with the little kids. I used to win championships coaching.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah.
Okay, AYSO.
I know. Hey, these little cats, I appreciate them. They wanted so bad that I had to coach them.
Yeah, no, I feel you. Okay. I disagree with that philosophy, right? The thing about, and it's like and or not an either or, because they're interchangeable about who goes to the bench. Okay. But the thing is that Westbrook is not inherently a shooter, so that at end of games, when you're bringing in your bench, you're bringing them in for the middle minutes, because whatever lead that you accumulate, you want to maintain that lead. And then Westbrook has the energy, right? Because of his cadence and how he's going to run a system that he can roll with the bench players. He can roll with the Powells and all of them and still keep a lead and or maintain or exceed a lead. But then when it comes down to the crunch time, you need somebody who shoots at a high percentage. And so I understand why Harden is the choice to be the starter for that reason, because if we're doing rotations, then
I think that's what Westbrook saw, because the last two games were very close. One against Denver, and then the one that they won.
Yeah,
and Westbrook was on the bench. So I understand what you're saying, but I just think in terms of a net EV, expected value, I think you're going to get a greater value out of the three that were there prior to Harden than interjecting Harden into that, reconfiguring what that looks like, and then bringing Westbrook off the bench. But speaking of that, is that Westbrook impresses me a lot of times. Sometimes with his fashion choices, they don't impress me whatsoever.
Yeah.
Him wearing kilts or him wearing some outrageous
maybe we're too
shit.
old because
maybe I'm too old, and he's from LA.
But I be looking at him
and I'm telling you, and I know you went to a school similar to me.
Where's your white tee?
If he went to a school where I went to and you was wearing that, he was getting picked on. But I know he's not that type of brother, and I know he's strong enough to stand on his own. I wouldn't say he's thug. He went to UCLA, and I wouldn't say he's thug. And I know he did the 60-60 game. I know he kept it with Nipsey and all that, but I wouldn't say he's a thug. Because he's actually a phenomenal young black man who is a phenomenal husband. He's also a phenomenal father.
All right. So look,
I know I'm being technical.
Let me just say this. When I say thug, I'm not really trying to cast aspersions on the brother.
No, not at all.
What I'm really saying is that, he understands
He's tough.
street, and he
Mhm.
understands street ball, and he understands the toughness that comes along with the pedigree of being a dude from LA. You know, this kid went to Lusinger. See, and you have to understand, I'm the kid, I saw him when he was a little kid playing at Lusinger, and I know the coach. I played with his coach at Lusinger. So I've seen Westbrook before he went to UCLA. I seen him like kind of like.
I know you didn't mean it that way, but when we provide that connotation, I just wanted to give a positive connotation with it. So I'm not hating on that. I feel you.
I'm not hating on him. I just but the thug part is that what I do know about Westbrook,
he ain't gonna hoe out.
He ain't gonna hoe out, and he's gonna be like, I will boo bop anybody. And when you see on what he displays on the court in the NBA fields, is just like he don't take no disrespect. So it's like if anybody was, what did you say something about my mama? Oh, that boy he's on it, white on rice. Right, he's on it. So that's what I mean.
But also he's being a leader. You have to sit over and have a certain level of humility about yourself. You have to have a certain level of self-awareness to make the choice, make the decision of not waiting for it to be imposed on you, but to recognize what was best for the team and to go request it. And that's what he did. And again, you know, real cats see real things, and I'm going to speak on real shit. Yeah. And so that was real shit, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a sacrifice.
It was a sacrifice. It was a leadership, and it was for the greater good of the whole. And he wasn't willing to continue to slide down that slide of, okay, maybe they got that one win, but if they don't figure that out correctly, then they're going to continue to slide and say, let's stop the slide. We have some momentum. Let me come off the bench. I'm all right with that because he's comfortable in his greatness.
Yeah. And you know what? And with all of my Clipper hate that I have spewed, all right, I'll give some flowers to it because everything you said is correct. And you know what? And Westbrook was mature enough.
Mature, yes. Great
to
word.
Just say, you know what? For the betterment of the team, I'm going to make this decision. I'm going to take the decision out of the hands of the coach. Ty Lue, you don't have to make the decision. I'm going to make the decision. This is what's the betterment of the team because what I've always professed is, you know, you need to be about winning. And you know what? And that was a very clear indication that Westbrook said, I'm about winning first and foremost. And that you got to give him some love on.
And so, you know, I'm excited to see where we go because that's the one step, you know, Harden sitting over hitting that shot and gaining some confidence because he obviously going 0-6 since he's started playing had to, or he's 5-0 since or 0-5 since he started playing, but they lost the game right before he started. So that has to eat away at your confidence.
Do you think that this is going to now project them? Do you think that they're going to be like, oh, okay, we figured out the riddle of the Sphinx?
I wouldn't say we figured out but it's not about off we go. It's about I'm having confidence and let's take one little minor step in the right direction. You understand? They're not leaping off of a win, but what it is, especially not after you go on
especially
6,
in the league.
But it is a step. And so what's going to be interesting is what do they do, you know, over the course of this weekend, going into the first half of next week, and of the 2 or 3, 4, maybe even 4 games. I think they play 2 or 3 games in the next 4 or 5 days. How many of those games can they win? Can they come out of that? Say they play 3 games, and they come out of that time 2-1 and with a winning record, so they have another small win to celebrate, another bright spot, a building block, another bright spot into their future. So you know that's how you get yourself out of these ruts. Is you take little wins and then create a larger win. And so excited to see what they can do.
A win is a win. And
a win is a win.
Yeah.
And let's talk about some individuals that's been winning that probably isn't getting as much notoriety or love as they should be getting. And last week we gave some love to AE, the Ant-Man, because, you know, he's been special. Yeah, but there's another player on the East Coast that's been very special that is starting to get a little bit of kudos, but it's not getting enough. And I want to sit over here and shine a light on him. And not just him, but also that team, which is Halliburton. T. Halliburton
Good old
for the Pacers.
Indiana.
Yes, and they're playing absolutely phenomenal. What we're seeing is an unbelievably strong foundation. They have a great draft next year, and if they can maybe bring in one perfect fit or correct fit for that team, you're looking at a team that's going to make the playoffs this year because they're scoring at a clip that's just hasn't been seen in the NBA.
Yeah.
And we're only talking about over a 10-game sample, but they are, from an offensive standpoint, absolutely exploding. Now, defense is a little bit rough, and they're getting scored on.
But they're young. So just like how we talked about OKC, just like how we talked about Houston, they're kind of on the East Coast. They're the same in the same vein,
yes.
the same ilk.
Yes.
I'm going to butcher these names, and Lord forgive me, but okay. I want to say Naismith, Naismith, which is like their I think he's their backup shooting guard. I don't know if he's starting exactly because I've seen them here and there. But Naismith, and then there's I want to say Maramuth, but whatever. I butchered your name, bro. Okay, look, but they got two cats outside of Halliburton who are really good, and then obviously they took Brown from the Denver championship, right? So they have him that is playing their 6-man role. So then you take those two guys who are now 2 or 3 years into their own careers. And then you have Turner, who, even though he's often injured, but he's a versatile
when he plays,
man.
Without a doubt.
When he plays, he is very effective. And then you have Maramove, bro, if I mess up your name.
It's not quite Maramove, but you're close. Right.
Close enough. You got that dude
right
playing power forward. Then you have the shooting guard and Naismith, and then you have Halliburton. And Halliburton is kind of like, he reminds me a lot of this mix between, I would say, like Jason Kidd and, dare I say, almost like Iverson, because he has all the shakes. He can dribble and break you down. It's just, but he can actually shoot, though.
Isaiah Thomas.
Ooh, but he's taller, though.
But his game reminds me of Isaiah.
And because he can do all things. He can average triple-double. Just kind of like what we see with Ball in Charlotte, right? It's like,
but he's more refined than that.
Yeah, he's way more refined. Way more refined. So then that's what makes them efficient, is because he's a danger on every possession. And then he has people that he can give it out to that are actually shoot and make the shot.
Right.
I mean, what else you need to say? It's like they low-key are good. Right?
And what's crazy is in the midseason tournament. I mean, they're 2-0. This is a team that has a very good shot at going to Vegas. So I'm super excited about that. I would love to see them in Vegas in the Sphere, just because they play an exciting brand of basketball. I mean, like, it's run and gun, it's fast paced, it's high scoring, but for them to go to the next level, what they do have to do, if they were smart, is sit over and focus on defensive players. In this next year. They have a team that obviously can score. If you could interject into those lineups, the starting lineup and the backup, say, one of the 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th player that comes off the bench that are defensive stoppers. Let me tell you something. You have a team that can sit over here and reconfigure itself to sit over and score when they need to score, or transform into a defensive stopper.
Yeah.
So, super excited about when you see these young teams that you're early on, that you can bet on early, because next year they're going to sit over here and there's going to be some ruckus, just like a team we're about to talk to you about, the Sacramento Kings. And with D. Fox. So it's funny, last year, we've obviously grown up with the Kings, and they've had a couple of good years here and there.
They've always been our, when I say our, because I consider myself a part of the Laker family, so they've always been our doormat.
Correct, but they've had a couple. But they've had a couple of spike years.
Yes,
and the twist is that we see something that's greater than their spike years, and something that's tangible. Last year, they might have lost in the first round. Okay, it was their
And
first
they lost
time.
formidably.
Yeah, but it was their first time getting there. So,
Yeah.
you got to get there and kind of take your lumps, and then you know what it's like. You're not like wowed by this part that they weren't used to playing there.
You know what's interesting about that series against Golden State? They were, from top to bottom, let's say statistically, they were the better team.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when you have a superstar that decides to be nuclear, and he's just, Steph Curry just said, "You motherfuckers are not gonna beat me."
Correct.
And
he would just refuse. Like, it's not gonna happen.
He refused. Right. He said, "God damn it." He said, you put the cameras on me, you ain't about to embarrass me in front of these
but had
cameras.
So much respect for D Fox that he made D Fox his very first, he got a shoe. And so he made D Fox his first player that represents his shoe.
Real talk.
Off of that.
Because D Fox
put in work. Now this
Malik
season
Monk put in work.
But this
Sabonis
season he's only Sabonis too. This season he's only sat over here and played a few games because of injury. But he's ratcheted up his game. He's shooting a few more. His field goal percentage is about 6 points higher. He's averaging a few more points. So when you bring all that together, this is still a dude that's still ascending on team that they're putting around him, and the GM is sitting over and constructing. And then they have the coach. What's the coach's name? LeBron's coach, the brother with the bald head.
His name escapes me right now, but I know, because he's his brother.
He's bald. Black, got to wear the glasses, and he looks.
And he's a defensive specialist.
So all of that put together has this team going.
I need to take a couple more sips. Maybe it'll come to me about 5 minutes.
Because you all brings it to you, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm gonna be like, oh, there it is. But okay, their coach is a legitimate, like he's a defensive oriented coach, and he's got the Sacramento Kings going there. I even had to just to pivot and caveat off of even the conversation prior to. It's very exciting for the league because right now we just got finished talking about the Indiana Pacers. Man, the Indiana Pacers haven't been relevant
since Reggie Miller.
So you got them. We talked last week about Houston. Obviously, we talked about Sacramento. We talked about OKC.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like there's all these young teams. These young teams. There's a lot of parity there where I'm like, wow.
And where the staple teams are like the Houston? Lakers, Celtics, that are still in the mix.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's a complete flip-flop of the league. It's almost a blending of the league. Yeah. Golden State's coming down a little bit. Lakers have come down a little bit, and you have teams that are rising. You have Boston that's still up there, but you have Milwaukee coming. You have Minnesota coming in the West.
Yes.
You have Philly still in there.
You have New Orleans steadfast in the middle. Like,
in the mix.
So I will be there.
So it's an exciting year.
This is a great year for basketball.
This is a great year of basketball. And what's crazy, we'll talk about it a little bit, but that in-season tournament is fun too. And from what we've had to see. But we're going to talk about it in a second bit, because before we go there, we want to talk about these great teams that have the opportunity to make themselves better. And there's one standout trade piece that's out there that is connected to, I think, about 4 teams. And I really want to know, where do you think he's going to go? And I personally think the Lakers, because I think they feel that they need one more piece.
Okay, I already know you're talking about that Zach Levine?
Zach Levine. And so he's a big piece. We got Miami after him, the Lakers, we got Philly, and we got another team. I can't think of the other team that's after him. But you got 4 teams that are after him. And I think the Lakers, it makes sense because the Lakers need to add. But I don't know if he's actually the one, because, doing all that jumping. Remember, he won the dunk contest and all that. Doing all that jumping, his knees aren't the same anymore, which means he's not the player the same anymore, but he comes with a price tag. And do you think he fills a void that's currently with the Lakers?
Okay, so it's very touchy, right? But theoretically, since we're playing fantasy right now, because we don't know what this going to happen.
True. Mm-hmm.
Zach Levine, from an athletic standpoint, is perfect for the Lakers. He really is. The only question is because of his price point. And you know what would also be perfect for the Lakers is that what would come with him in a trade, if we're going to trade for him, is Caruso. right? So the Lakers won their last championship with Caruso. Caruso is also often injured, but when Caruso is
he ain't no punk.
He ain't no punk. And when he's right, he's really right. And the thing, and Laker lore loves him. And the thing about being a Laker is you have to be able to perform when the lights are the brightest. And Caruso was already proven that he knows how to do that, and he has a relationship with LeBron. So all of those things play.
So you say it would only work if Caruso came along as part of the package?
In my estimation, I think the best thing, if the trade were going to happen, would be to include Caruso as a must. Now, taking all that aside, what it is that Lakers would have to give up is the $1 million question, because the thing that, if you don't want to like completely disrupt the core of the team, when I say core, I just mean you're obviously going to disrupt the core, but what is going to be palatable for you, Chicago, to even get him?
Who are the two players that you would be willing to give up? Because it would be 2 and plus a draft pick.
Okay, so this is going to be an explosion on this show.
Okay.
Because
if you say AD, we're going to stop production.
Well,
you might have to go on hiatus. You smoking crack cocaine. Because it needs to be LeBron, AD, and a person.
Okay. It doesn't have to be Anthony Davis. It does not have to be Anthony Davis.
Well, LeBron?
No, of course not LeBron.
No, I'm saying with LeBron, you don't say it has to be AD.
Okay. I'm going to play out a fantasy scenario, and then you tell me.
I'm about to go get my robe and cross it. I say I'm going to have to bless you already.
Yeah, you got to throw some holy water on my ass. But if, let's just say, because of what we know about often injured bitch ass and his disease ass Anthony Davis, what we're losing is we're losing who potentially could be the defensive player of the year, because that's how dynamic he is on defense, and that's how significant he is to our team on defense. So it's just a risk and reward. If you trade him to Chicago and then you bring in a Kobe-esque person in Levine, and you bring in Caruso as a part of that trade, and Anthony Davis goes. So then it's like, who are your big men now? Then now you have Vanderbilt, you have Jackson Hayes, and you have the motherfucker who came from Dallas. I can't even think of his name.
I don't want you to get any more hate comments that you're already going to get.
But just go with me. Just go with me.
I can't go with you because I didn't say trade Levine for the big two. I said trade Levine to add to the big two.
Yeah, but any other scenario is fantasy land, because what is going to happen is that
they don't want his $40 million a year contract, so it's not.
Okay, so we all know.
So that's why it's not going to be Caruso and Levine. It's only going to be Levine, because you have to go 40 for 40.
But
so they have to get rid of two $20 million contracts to trade for the one $40 million contract.
Okay, so here's what I would say. You're going to probably have to include our starting point guard in that trade, which is, again, this sounds like poppycock. This sounds like it is insane.
Hey, poppycock does sound insane. I will tell you that.
It sounds insane. So when I always think about this, I think about how competitive we're going to be facing against the best team, which would be Denver, right? In this case. So if it's Denver, what it is that you're trading away Anthony Davis, which is undoubtedly one of the best defensive players and athleticism, but he shrinks in big moments. You trade him away. You also include D'Angelo Russell. You bring in Caruso. You bring in Levine. And then you have a committee at the 5, right? But you have Vanderbilt and you have rotational players. But what you have now given yourself is you've given LeBron the ability to have somebody other than himself who is super dynamic, who can get 30.
Levine?
Levine can.
Now, you understand Levine's knees are a little bit tricky.
Of course. Okay. But Levine can give you 30. and he can give you 30 consistently.
Laker Nation, I do not sanction what this man is saying. Okay. I have nothing to do with this.
Listen, this code 10.
Your name is G Money.
Red alert. But I'm not crazy. It could happen. And then you have Caruso, who's there to be a good defensive rotation player, and you keep Reeves. And so now we got these two inter-trusting dynamic players that can alternate between the point guard position, and then you're putting LeBron in the natural point guard position. It could work.
James,
I just think that
you're not crazy.
They're not going to do it.
You're not crazy, but I will tell you this: you are insane. So with that being said, I wasn't going to talk about this right now. I wasn't going to even talk about this. We might have gotten into it, but because you just said something so insane, I have to equate that. I have to equate that with the insanity that we had the opportunity to see up close and personal, with a million cameras watching, and it's been spewed all over our social media. And that is our man from Golden State sitting over here set tripping. I mean, to do this in the game, I think he wanted the documentary. He saw the documentary on 30 for 30 about the Malice in the Palace and them strapping, and he said, I want one of those. So I actually thought it was because the in-season tournament, there's a heightened sense of urgency and so on and so forth. But again, until you're within, a foot of insanity and you get to see it up close and personal, that made me realize, no, that was insanity. And what Draymond was doing was pure insanity and putting my man Gobert in the motherfucking headlock and sitting over here choking him out for 18 seconds. The insanity that I saw in his eyes, I just saw in your eyes as you were sitting over here and speaking on that
God.
So they're correlated.
Well, then me and Draymond are best buds then. Because, look, here's what I would say about the Draymond thing. Draymond he was stupid for, let's say, going to such an extreme. However, his actions were not stupid. It was, look, he already doesn't like Rudy Gobert.
Okay. So that makes it actually
off
stupid.
Rip. Mm-hmm. He's the enforcer of the team. Mm-hmm. He doesn't like Rudy Gobert for a whole host of reasons. And Rudy Gobert is a 7-foot, softy that tries to act like he's tough every now and again. Mm-hmm. But okay, so he's Grey Poupon civilized, but and Draymond Green is like, what set you from, cuz?
Like him and Russell.
Okay, so polar opposites. Right. Okay, fine, but then listen, Grey Poupon should not have grabbed his light-skinned teammate. He should not have grabbed a Klay Thompson. He just shouldn't have done it. It was a dumb thing to do. When there's a fight and a scrummage in the professional ranks, you grab the teammates that are your teammates. You don't try to say, oh, wait, hold on, let me try to break this up. And then you're going to do that. Because you know what? You got Super Gangbang over here. That's going to be like, wait, hold up.
This is my problem with him. This is my problem with my man. Is he only wrapped it. He didn't lock.
No. And that's why he didn't think he was going to get in trouble.
Well, here's the choices. If you're going to sit over here and go through this much scrutiny, okay. If you're going to have to take and face this type of discipline in terms of a 5-game suspension, what I would have done was at least put him to sleep. Because if you put him to sleep, then you go down in history as one of the realest motherfuckers in the game. When you only sit over here and tuck it, and he's sitting over saying, look at this dude sitting over here strangling me. That's all look at this dude right here. But I would have locked. I would have sit over here and locked it like that, and then I would have put him to sleep, and then I would have actually sit over here and would have superseded what they did in Detroit. See, this is where he ain't really quite thinking.
The only thing that I will say is that what Draymond did at the end of the day is that he did what rich thugs do. Is that he said, I'm gonna hook him,
but I ain't gonna go too far.
I ain't gonna choke him. I'm gonna just let him know, don't never do this again. And I'm gonna emphasize, don't ever do this again. And that's what he did. And, the thing about him getting 5 games is it was just an exacerbation of his history. Listen, Draymond has kicked people in the groin. Draymond,
if he don't go to Mexico, he ain't a real one. If he don't go to Tulum and sit over here, he ain't a real one.
Well, look, I don't begrudge Draymond for his actions. I just think that it's exceeding. And what it ultimately what we're saying is that Draymond, listen, you won championships for being who you are, but there does come a point to where you need to realize what is the betterment of the team, and that is what you, as a mature adult, need to reconcile. You need to say, look, I can be the enforcer. I can say this or do that and so on and so forth. But at some point, you need to be the grown-up in the room. And Draymond, you didn't really do that. And that's why his coach got on him, because it was like, bruh.
No, you know why? No, you know why his coach got on him? It's because the coach came out and initially defended him on some bullshit that Draymond told him. Draymond told him he was grabbing Clay by the throat, and then when he saw the motherfucking video, he was like, "Draymond, you had me out here telling these motherfuckers that go over here and grab him by the throat. You lying motherfucker," and put him on blast.
I'll tell you this though. I bet you, Clay and Steph in his injury, they was like, yeah, that's right. That's my dude. And you know what? At the end of the day, when you talking about we in the wolf pack and it's just us, at the end of the day, regardless of fines and anything else, they like, that's my dude. Hey, that's the one who I'm.
Put this way, I celebrity box Draymond right now. Fuck around and knock him out.
Oh man, you wish. Yeah. What? No, I'm not saying you wouldn't win. I'm saying that you wish, because you would have hoped that Draymond would want to get you with your ass. Yeah.
No, who are you? Let me get that celebrity boxing money, Dre. I'll put you out there. Let me get that boxing money.
Yeah, shoot. Me too. Shoot. I want to fight.
But let's sit over here and talk about this end game. Let's finish it off with this end game, because
man,
for me, I'm loving it.
Right?
Hey, but that's what the twist is. This is where people made fun of the NBA when it first got, including us, when it first unrolled, because it wasn't a whole lot of universal understanding.
Nobody knew first of all, I will say this. The NBA did and we've said this in previous episodes, they did a really poor job of even explaining what the hell it is. And then they brought down that little Bush League Vegas commercial that they throw out. And it was still like, well, what the hell is this? But then they caught up to it. And then the hype surrounding the in-game the new courts and the alternate uniforms is really paying dividends. I
want to see what the new uniforms are. I want to see what every team's courts are.
Now it's sexy.
So it's so funny that people laughed at it, but the average viewer like myself wants to see that what the new deal is going to be like.
Pageantry around it.
That's a great word. It's a lot of pageantry, but I think what they also wanted to do, because 82 games, I've seen the games up close, it becomes lazy. It becomes like, let's just get through this. It does inject some energy into these games.
Yes.
We saw that with multiple fights
in
the deal. So that's what and we're seeing people want it. We have players that are sitting over, star players saying, I want to win it, for the cats that are on my team that aren't making that money, and that $500,000 means something to them. And so when I see it, and you got teams like the Pacers that ain't going to win the championship, but will be in a position to win this. The Lakers that probably aren't going to win a championship if they don't make a significant right move that really fits. They're not going to win a championship, but are in a position to win this. And I do love that interseasonal ability to have something matter that's not the end game.
I agree.
Because 82 games plus the playoffs, and you're talking about 100 games, is a lot of games to sit over and wait from 0 to 100 to find out who was the shit. To have something in there. And what they did is they brought that from the Premier League and from soccer, actually from European soccer, that have these tournaments because their seasons are long, that have those tournaments inside of there. And I think it's brilliant to bring that to America. America, always we think that we're the forerunners of it, and the reality is that sometimes we are behind.
I've heard you say this before. You said, look, when you got winners, when you got athletes, people that are competitive by nature, you could just damn near say, we're going to play for this Twinkie.
And yes.
Damn it, we're playing for the Twinkie.
They're playing for
we're
the
playing
Twinkie.
for the Twinkie.
And speaking of that,
get it.
Hey, this is up here. I'm drinking my Claude French shit. Not because I don't have that VSOP Henny to drink. It's just that we're going to drink this and we're going to pop this. And G is going to be off his whiskey shit, and he gonna drink this when the cup is done, and we're gonna have some fun with it. So that's why that's up here, and I'm gonna represent that NBA sponsor Hennessy VSOP until we have a cup and we pop this bottle and we're gonna get super loose off of this.
Yes, we are, because one thing I'm not a quitter. So I will switch over to your world of the yaks.
And he's going to be swashbuckling on a whole nother level.
You know what? and I'm just going to open my third eye even bigger. Hey, okay?
This has been a great show, brother.
Hey, man.
Ball
great
talking with you.
Always.
Hey, cheers.
Hey.
And ladies and gentlemen, again, please subscribe, download, like, love us. Come back next week.
Please
come back. We'll see you soon, because we having a ball. So should y'all.
One more again.
Church.
There it is. On the move.